Okay, thank you for joining us. We recently had a seminar on neighborhood assistance program and tax credits in Charlottesville, and so we thought we'd take the opportunity to put this slideshow as a webinar so others can participate. My name is Matt Illian. I'm with Marotta Wealth Management, and I'm guessing you're here because, like us, you like to avoid paying taxes. As long as it's legal and the opportunity is there, we like to take advantage of it. We've had clients use and talked about conservation tax credits here in Virginia, rehabilitation tax credits. But today we're talking about the Neighborhood Assistance Program. It's a tax incentive that the state set up to encourage private investments by individuals and businesses in alleviating poverty. And so the opportunity exists to make charitable contributions to nonprofits that specialize in education, job training, low-income housing support, healthcare, and other community services. Virginia allocated about $15 million a year to this, and it's important that you're listening to this now or soon after it's created. Here we are in June, because the credits, there's a limited opportunity to be able to access them, and I'm going to talk about the timetable coming up here. But as I get started, I'm going to use an example, and the example is on this next slide. Churchill Activities and Tutoring is a nonprofit that I'm very familiar with here in my neighborhood in the east end of Richmond. It's a neighborhood called Churchill, and this nonprofit, Churchill Activities and Tutoring, does a wide number of things, including they recently had a graduation for 6 of their graduates from their intervention high school. They are running a summer day camp here in Richmond. They have interns that come from a whole number of colleges to work over the summer and throughout the year. But the program through chat that I'm most familiar with is their tutoring, after-school tutoring program. And I'm familiar with this because our house is one of the 5 or 6 houses that chat uses as a site where neighborhood students come after school to receive tutoring. And this duo here, Jill Wright is one of the tutors who's been coming for a number of years. She's been working with her tutor there named Summer, and Jill has followed Summer from the Little Tykes pre-K program all the way up until she's been with Summer for about 5 or 6 years now. So some of the tutors develop these long-standing relationships, and when I asked Jill just how she felt about it, she just said, we've developed a very special bond for which I'm very grateful. So every Monday and Tuesday we have about 6 to 10 volunteer tutors come to our house, and about 10 to 12 students, depending on the day, to read books. In this case, they're reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. In this case here, we've got, this was actually a fun day. One of the tutors worked on, it was a Lego building day. There's a group in Richmond called Bricks for Kids that sponsored an event where the kids were learning about, and their tutors, communication, hand-eye coordination, kind of physics, and creating some really neat robots and other things using Legos. So last year, Chat received about $75,000 in NAP credits that they were able to give out to their donors. And in order to qualify, again, Chat is one of about 300 organizations. In order to qualify, what you need to do is contact the qualifying organizations. And I put a link here to a website that we keep updated, www.emarotta.com/NAP for Neighborhood Assistance Program. And that gives you links to the programs in the Department of Social Services and Department of Education through Virginia State that offer these credits. The list is being updated, and so if you go there now, you'll see last year's list. There are probably a number of organizations that will be added for this year, and perhaps a number that might even drop off, because it does take a lot of work to be a qualifying institution. Essentially, over half, you have to prove that over half of the people that you serve either come from low-income families or are disabled. And that means that the institution needs to run a census and go around and talk with and meet with and ask a whole number of questions to the families that are involved. But it's very important to act on this quickly, away on a first-come, first-served basis. And so you want to make sure, if you're interested in these, that you're ready. To make that donation as soon as you can after July 1st. Last year, CHAT's credits were entirely, given away by September, but in years past, they've gone even quicker, and the organizations have an incentive to give them away as soon as possible, because once they distribute their NAP credits, they can go back to the state with their hand out or their hat in hand and asking for more. And the more comes from those organizations that were awarded credits but were never used. Or for some reason they applied but they didn't qualify. And so those get redistributed. Basically, it's been in the past on a first-come, first-served basis. I'm told this year the Department of Social Services is only going to give out $5,000 increments at a time after they come back hat in hand. So the point is, if you miss the window, it's going to be very hard to kind of move forward and to be able to access them. So this next slide here looks at the benefits, or the tax benefits, for making a charitable deduction and receiving NAP credits. Now, let's assume in this slide I'm looking at a $10,000 donation that you gave to CHAT or one of the other 300 qualifying organizations. If you give a $10,000 deduction, the first item you save up there on top is $575. That's from a state tax deduction. So essentially, that's regardless of the NAP credits. If you just gave them money, you'd get this $575. Now, for somebody in the highest tax bracket, for the federal tax bracket of 39.6%, a $10,000 donation is going to get them a $10,000 deduction. And assuming they're itemizing, which those in the highest tax brackets typically do, they'll get a $3,960 savings because of that deduction. Now, some of you might be in the 15% tax bracket or 25%. In that case, the federal savings is closer to $1,500 or $2,500. The biggest piece comes from the NAP credit. So a $10,000 contribution, you get a 65% credit. And so 65% of 10,000, that's 6,500 that you get to deduct from your state taxes. The last piece I have in red here is actually a loss that often gets overlooked when looking at this analysis. And that's because when you pay your taxes with credits, those don't count as state taxes paid. You essentially, you're losing that part of that deduction when you go to take it off of your federal taxes the following year. So you're only going to be able to take as a deduction the amount that you actually paid in cash, not the amount that you paid as a credit. And that means the following year you lose some of your deductions. So you can see here, for someone in the highest tax bracket, that's a loss the following year of $2,574. All said, you still come out a winner by using these credits. So essentially, someone in the highest tax bracket, in this case donates cash, $10,000 of cash, gets total tax savings of $8,461, which means the donation only costs you $1,539. If you're in the lowest tax bracket, it only costs you about $2,400. So you can see how you can really maximize your dollars by getting these deductions and then using the tax credits. Now, the other thing that we like to bring to our clients' attention and to you today is the opportunity to gift stock. And if you gift stock, you have all of the same benefits that we discussed before, except you also get to avoid paying capital gains taxes. And so for someone in the highest tax bracket, those capital gains taxes can be as high as 20%, plus a 3.8% Medicare surtax for 23.8%, which is an additional $2,380 in savings. To someone not in the highest tax brackets, it'll be probably closer to an additional 15% savings. But the point is here, you can see a $10,000 deduction for someone, let's say a small business owner, someone with a nice salary, actually receives more tax benefits, in this case $10,841, by making a donation of appreciated securities. And that's assuming it's fully appreciated. So the way you do that is you simply talk to the organization, and if, let's say, you have stocks in your investment account, or Granny gifted them to you at some point, and if you were to sell them, you'd pay a pretty hefty capital gains tax. You can go ahead and gift those same stocks to an organization. They'll sell them typically as soon as they get them, and then you don't have to pay the capital gains tax, and you get all the tax benefits that we discussed before. So for those investors out there, gifting appreciated securities can save you an additional 15 to 23% in capital gains. So my hope is here in reviewing these neighborhood assistance program tax credits that you'll see it's a great way to save on taxes and avoid paying Virginia and Uncle Sam any more than you need to, and it's a great way to invest in nonprofits that are really making a difference in alleviating poverty. So with that, I want to thank you for spending a few minutes with me to review the Neighborhood Assistance Program tax credit.